Denver is trying to forecast human behavior thousands of miles away, trying to predict how many migrants will arrive from the southern border each week.
At the end of the day, we do not get a manifest that says, expect this many arrivals.
Get ready for the most political endorsement of all time. Denver's leading progressive voice says she is sort of supporting Mike Johnston for mayor. Tonight is the big debate on 9 News. The South Platte is a free river right now. Anyone can have it that water. This almost never happens. And a rare veto by the governor moves Colorado even closer to bringing wolves back to rural areas that don't want them there. All tonight on Next. The 10,000th migrant to come to Denver is likely arriving tonight. We know that because the city is now in the business of forecasting the movement of people clear from Mexico, across the border, and up to Denver. Our Mark Salinger explains why these predictions are so difficult.
In the middle of a long journey, Denver becomes home, even if it's just for a couple of days.
Ya llevo en esta travesía 45 días.
Isael arrived in Colorado last week after a months-long trek from Venezuela. He spent 2 days in Denver, waiting to be processed before getting on a bus to New York.
Aquí estamos, ya a punto de abordar a nuestro destino.
Isael shared these updates of a journey that started in Central America, stopped in Colorado, and ends somewhere else.
Ahora cambia cara de felicidad porque ya pronto vamos a llegar a nuestro destino.
A journey the city of Denver is still working to understand.
What we didn't expect was for people to arrive before Title 42 ended.
Emily Williams is a spokesperson for the city. Around 10,000 migrants have come to Denver at one point or another since December. The majority have moved on to other states. The challenge is figuring out when the next influx of people will come.
We even at our welcome centers ask people who are arriving themselves, how did you find out about Denver? Where, who do you know who's coming?
Denver declared a state of emergency late last year to help handle migrant arrivals. That state of emergency never ended. But last week, when hundreds of migrants like Isael unexpectedly arrived here every day, Williams admits the city was unprepared.
In that instance, we were definitely not ready at that time for that number of people.
Sí.
Isael sent this video last week, preparing to sleep in a church on the Auraria campus, with hundreds of others after all the shelters filled up.
Todos emigrantes venezolanos.
Denver was prepared for people to come after Title 42 ended. Instead, they arrived the week before. From May 8th to May 14th, the city spent more than $360,000 on more than 1,000 bus tickets for migrants wanting to continue their journey.
This really is a crisis, and there's never a perfect response in a crisis, but we are doing everything we can to prepare.
The city of Denver is now working to create partnerships with bus companies, bringing people here so that they can better understand when people are coming so the city can prepare. They also are in constant communications with leaders in cities like El Paso, Texas, though no one from Denver has gone down there yet. The goal, Kyle, is to not be blindsided if another rush of migrants, another influx of migrants happens in the next couple weeks or months.
They certainly did predict this latest surge, although they didn't know the numbers. And they're gathering intelligence when folks come to town.
Exactly. Some of the first questions that they ask them is, where did you come from? How did you find out about Denver? And do you know of anybody else that's also coming to Denver? That's to prepare to say, hey, we are expecting more people to come. That's the goal right now.
It takes me back to December when folks first started arriving, and everybody thought, well, they must have been sent here. And then you actually talk to people, and it's like, no, it's just word of mouth. People talk to people.
It all seems very natural.
Yep.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you very much, Mark. Our third and final debate in the race for Denver mayor is tonight, and there will not be a progressive candidate on stage. Lisa Calderon finished third and missed the runoff. Today, Calderon offered perhaps the most lukewarm endorsement in political history. Calderon said that she would vote for Mike Johnston as a harm reduction strategy. Yikes. Politics guy Marshall Zellinger is joining me from the debate studio where Johnson and Kelly Brough are going to debate in less than an hour now. And Marshall, I would say whether people like Lisa Calderon's politics or not, it has long been clear that she suffers from uncontrolled honesty. Like all that happy backslapping BS that you see in politics with endorsements from people who don't really like each other. She's not into that.
It's clear with harm reduction strategy, that's not exactly a term that I would think of as any kind of endorsement term, but that's what we heard from Calderon today. She said she was not going to endorse either candidate just a few days ago. Well, Mike Johnston, who will stand at this podium during the debate, and Kelly Brough, who will stand over here, they both met with Calderon and a group of 30 Latino and labor leaders on Friday. Some of that group stood with Calderon this morning as she announced Johnston over Brough as her and their endorsement. Johnston and Brough were quizzed with 79 questions. It led to this scorecard. Green for support of an issue, red for being ambiguous or not committing to the issue. Johnston scored 74 out of 79 on this list, Brough 66 out of 79. The topics they were questioned about included economic justice, leadership culture shift, gentrification, and public safety. Following Calderon's endorsement, we asked her why the candidate herself, who put diversity, equity, and inclusion front and center in the race for mayor, is suggesting her supporters get behind Johnston over what could be the first female mayor.
Why am I endorsing a white man? Did you hear the options I just gave? I would much rather be having these folks voting for me. We don't have a choice between voting for a white candidate. And so the woman card in this situation doesn't clear it for me. It isn't just a woman. It is a woman with the values that I ran on. And the woman in this race still doesn't have those.
According to Calderon, both candidates, whoever wins, have agreed to having that Latino group have input on the transition team and input on appointees to either candidate's cabinet positions for mayor. And also, according to Calderon, both Johnston and Brough have agreed to overhaul of several of the departments in Denver, the Denver Sheriff's Office, Parks and Rec, and the Department of Public Health and Environment, Kyle.
And why does this matter? Because there is a sizable progressive vote in the first round if those same number of people show up to vote, which is a real question mark. If they show up to vote again and they all vote for one person, that's more than enough to seal the election.
If memory serves, it was like 31,000 that voted for Calderon, and that's just one of the progressive candidates that they came out for in the April election. So that's a sizable number of people just from her heading into the June 6th election, and definitely something that could push one of the candidates over the edge.
Marshall, hang tight. So if Brough and Johnston draw sharp contrasts on tonight's debate stage, be honest, it would be the first time. They are two centrist figures in city politics with deep establishment ties, and both of them would continue much of Mayor Hancock's work. Really selling the sizzle of this debate thing at 7 o'clock, right? So Brough and Johnston align on a lot of the major issues. They both want to hire more Denver police officers. They both want to enforce the camping ban to clear homeless encampments. Now, Brough does say that people who violate the camping ban could be arrested. Johnston's not down with that. The closest they really came to a public disagreement in our first two debates is over Johnston's beyond audacious pledge that he's going to end homelessness in 4 years.
So is it realistic for Denver to end homelessness now within 4 years?
I don't think so, no. I mean, I think part of this is telling the truth. I don't think it's as simple as micro units. I think we're talking about people who need serious support from a mental health perspective and an addiction perspective.
I agree with Kelly. I think one of the things we do need is long-term supportive care, and that's why linked to this plan, what I've said is that I would take 2 pods of the county jail and convert those, one into long-term inpatient mental health support, which we don't have in the city right now, and one into long-term inpatient addiction-based treatment. So for the folks that have the most profound needs.
Truly a walk on the mild side, Marshall. I mean, so tonight could be the night that Brough and Johnston kind of start their final push and start to draw some really clear contrasts on where they disagree, and there are a couple of places. Or, tell me what you think of this, perhaps they don't want to do that, and they're just going to let the deep-pocketed outside groups that support them do that dirty work.
Sure. I mean, we could see in the political ads right now, there's a political ad by Kelly Brough. She's touting her own resume, essentially. And then you've got a political ad for the supporters of Johnston talking about guns and taking on the NRA. And we haven't seen an ad from him yet. So from that perspective, sure, it's going to be the outside groups that might do that. They are both polished and really coordinated in their responses. That's where our job, it gets a little difficult today with you, me, and Anusha trying to figure out how we can get some of those differences out and to give those voters the option of, okay, we've heard their talking points. We know where they are supportive of both each other and their positions. But where's that daylight that might sway the voter to be like, oh, there's that thing that I finally heard that's going to say, I know they agree on so much, but that's the thing that I like that candidate for.
At the very least, they both have records to answer for, and we are going to question them deeply on those records tonight, 7 o'clock, KTVD, streaming on 9 News Plus. Thank you, Marshall. So how wild is it that Denver does not have a progressive in the mayoral runoff, but Colorado Springs does? The Springs picks a new mayor tonight. Surprising runoff in the city long associated with conservative politics. You have former Republican Secretary of State Wayne Williams versus political newcomer Yemi Mobolade. Yemi, as he is known, got 30% of the initial vote because there were a slew of other conservatives that kind of split up the right-wing vote. Williams got 19% in the first round. If Yemi pulls off this upset, it would be historic. He'd be the Springs' first left-of-center mayor in decades. Republican Congresswoman Lauren Boebert is in a newly powerful position in Washington. The House Speaker has to keep her and other very conservative members happy in order to keep his seat. So that means that Boebert's legislation is likely to get more of a serious look than it has in the past. Her latest seeks to roll back gun control and also gun safety measures like safe storage programs. Boebert's new Shall Not Be Infringed Act would repeal enhanced background checks, repeal incentives for states to pass red flag gun laws. It would also defund programs promoting safer gun storage. President Biden signed a bipartisan package of gun bills, most sweeping in 30 years, as a response to a string of mass shootings last year. There are Coloradans who wait years to get a chance at the South Platte's water until a moment like this. The governor rejects a plan to slow down wolf reintroduction. And consumer groups protesting a bill to change the state's ticket sales laws. Hope those vetoes keep coming. That's next. The South Platte is a free river right now. I was today years old when I learned what that means. It's when a river is running so high that every single water rights holder, even the most junior at the back of the line, can all take their share. This time of year, everybody's scrambling to claim water rights, especially farmers and ranchers who need the water for crops. Colorado, of course, operates on a seniority system with water. Those with the senior water rights get to fulfill their needs first. You know the old saying, first in time, first in line. In dry years, that means that those with more recent water claims have to go without. And that's been the case on the South Platte for the last 3 years. The state says as of right now, everyone is getting their portion. And even reservoirs with junior water rights, like the Cherry Creek Reservoir, are getting a drink for the first time in years. That has an added benefit because the extra water in reservoirs keeps levels down in the South Platte, which can help with flood control. Danielle Grant just shows you how unusual of a situation we've been in when we got, what was it, a third of our annual rainfall in Denver in 48 hours.
Precisely.
That it has immediate benefits for folks who depend on that water to keep people safe through reservoirs, to feed crops, feed cattle, that kind of thing. That's
all the things. Yeah. Free means free for once, you know. Absolutely. We saw more than 4 inches of water come through. Typically, 14 inches is what we see for the entire year. So last week was tremendous. Across downtown Denver, finally, we've been begging for some sunshine around here, and you can finally see it with a bit of blue sky. And is that a Miller moth? What is going on there? We're in the 70s and 80s across the metro area, 50s, 60s, and a few spots up in the mountains in the lower 70s. But here's a snapshot of the month of May thus far. And like Kyle was saying, look at that. It's been about a week that we have had measurable precipitation here in Denver. That's why that sunshine felt so good today. I am still tracking a few isolated showers out there, most of them up in the high country, maybe 1 or 2 isolated showers here for the urban corridor, some stronger cells off to the eastern plains, as well as a bit of lightning. All of these turn off by about 11 o'clock tonight. We'll be greeted with more sunshine for your Wednesday morning. The clouds and the isolated storms once again firing up about 4 or 5 o'clock here in the city. They don't last long. Not everyone will get in on that water. Tomorrow, temperatures still pretty nice. Back to the mid 70s we go. We'll stay in the lower 80s across southeastern Colorado with 50s and 60s in the mountains. A cold front moves in late tomorrow night. That'll drop off our temperatures into the 60s Thursday and Friday and bring us a better shot at another good drink of water.
It's never been more clear than today. Wolves have a key ally in Colorado, the governor. And even though the legislature's gone home for the year, a bill that would change the way we buy tickets still hangs in the balance. Next. Democratic Governor Jared Polis is not willing to slow down wolf reintroduction in Colorado. Today, he issued his first veto of the year to keep that wolf plan on track. The bill killed by the governor said that wolves could not be reintroduced until the federal government designated them as experimental rather than endangered. Why does that matter? When they're experimental, the state has more flexibility in deciding when and how they can be killed. Ranchers saw that as an insurance policy if wolves got out of hand. Ranching groups were disappointed by not surprised at the governor's veto. Wolf reintroduction was approved by the voters in 2020, and in his veto today, the governor said the decision should be left to Colorado Parks and Wildlife, like the voters decided. Opponents of a proposed update to Colorado's ticket selling regulations are hoping the governor's got one more veto left in that pen. The bill would crack down on deceptive ticket practices, like selling a ticket without disclosing its total cost or selling a ticket that doesn't match its advertised description. But there's a national coalition of consumer groups that have sent hundreds of letters to the governor asking him to veto this. Why in the world would they be opposed? Well, they want a bill on this issue to do even more to protect ticket buyers, and rather than get this, they'd rather come back and try again next year.
So we supported the bill when it had amendments that would require disclosures of held back tickets as well as bots reporting, so we could actually have a sense as to how many bots are trying to buy tickets. Consumers also have the right to know how many tickets are for sale so they can make informed purchasing decisions.
Colorado has gotten called out on our ticket sales rules by bands like The Cure and Queen. They've argued that the state should regulate individual ticket transfers to protect fans from scalpers. This bill, if it became law, does not do much to change that. It only keeps fans from jacking up the prices on tickets they got for free. The governor has until next month to make up his mind on this bill. His office wouldn't tell us today which way he's leaning. Finish with look ahead to tonight's debate, 7 o'clock on KTVD and 9 News Plus, as well as your feedback. Next. It feels to be in here with two podiums. I mean, what, our first debate in the race for Denver mayor had 13 of 17, and I think our second debate had maybe 11 or 12 of the 17. They were rocking and rolling affairs where you had folks from all across the political spectrum, from a conservative Republican to Democratic socialist and lots of folks in between with all kinds of different ideas of how to lead the city. Well, you know what? Denver voters have decided that they wanted two candidates who were pretty much at the center of things politically. Kelly Brough, the former head of the Denver Metro Chamber of Commerce, and former state senator and education leader Mike Johnston. Two centrist Democrats in this nonpartisan race will debate tonight, 7 p.m. on KTVD and streaming live and on demand on 9news.com and on 9 News Plus. Two folks who agree on a lot of the issues and would continue a lot of Mayor Michael Hancock's policies. Tonight, our debate will focus on where they disagree, why they disagree, and perhaps more importantly, we're going to give you a sense of both of them as leaders, about possibly mistakes that they've made over the years and why they've changed their positions on a number of issues. Because there's a good chance that some of the largest problems confronted by the next mayor of Denver are the things that we have not been talking about this entire time. So it's good for you to just get the sense of the people. A question tonight by text. Curious how the immigrants I see on the news are getting cell phones. I know it's expensive. My guess would be if you could afford one thing after clothing and food, it would probably be a cell phone, especially if you were making an international trip. See you at 7.